Welcome back to our Apostle series, and we're welcome to Matthew. Matthew, paralyzed. Did you know Matthew was paralyzed? And I'm here in a shop. This is the front room of the shop. It opens out onto this street. There's a back room in the shop. In all of these shops here, there's 5 of them that open out here onto the street. And there must have been another little step here because that would be hard. This is a very broad street. This is like 5th Avenue of Manhattan, or give me another avenue in Paris or in Rome or in Berlin or in Johannesburg or in Mexico City. And this is the main street, a main street. I won't absolutely say that it's the absolutely main street, but it's pretty main. So this is the kind of a place where Matthew would keep an eye on business because he was a tax collector. We have to check out our terms here. Terminology is very important when we want to talk about anything. What do we understand by tax collector? Well, today a tax collector is not so negatively seen as in the Roman times and their occupation here all over their empire, but also here. They were hated because they used the force of the Roman army to tax all their subjected peoples. Probably the nearest closer memory we have is the time of colonialization. And people were scared. And it was a very horrible situation, and violence was used, and justice was carried out in the Roman Empire. That's very well known. So people had a chance to take all they wanted, all they could, and they had to give so much up the line to the government. So what was the result of that type of lifestyle? Matthew is alienated from himself, from his deepest self, even though maybe that's not his primary issue. He's also alienated from his family, but he might say, who cares? And then he's detested by society. He has to be protected by the Roman system, the Roman power system. If he's attacked out of revenge or hatred, he has a huge apparatus that's going to defend him. So that's a very horrible way to live. He's paralyzed socially. He's paralyzed interiorly. Now, we need to look at another reality as well in the Bible. We have an ambiguous relationship to money. And we have money, the widow's mite. That's so beautiful. Her generosity, giving that money, that's a good thing. And Peter actually was able to go and take a coin from a fish's mouth because Jesus organized that for him in God's providence, that he would find the coins necessary to pay for the temple tax. Part of a system of society, money is good, it's for exchange. But then money is also called the root of all evil. It's not just the opportunity with talents to multiply, to grow, to develop. It's the root of all evil. That's an expression, I think, in the book of Proverbs. So, money has a stigma, and Jesus calls it dishonest wealth. That's a very interesting take on money. So money is also a place where we can get corrupted, and we think of poor Judas. We think of people who steal, who cheat, and put money over people. So there's a whole paralysis there that Matthew cannot see the people. He only sees the gain. And we have another tax collector, Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus is very interesting because Zacchaeus is very rich. And once you get rich, once you get things, even if you're in a lower social class and you get rich within that class, that leads to a whole lot of other possibilities of losing your humanity, to stay free of those enslavements. Then we have the rich young man. And the rich young man probably has the same or more wealth than Matthew. He or may not even have as much as him, doesn't matter. But he has a very different lifestyle. He kept all the commandments. So he wasn't extorting people. He wasn't dishonest. He wasn't cheating. And yet he wasn't able to leave money. And this brings Matthew into a whole other light, because he got up immediately when Jesus called him. And I think we can examine this a little bit more. In a certain sense, I'm happy that we have very few biographical details about the person of Matthew himself. We don't know the name of his dog. That's so important in so many articles about important people nowadays. We don't know the name of his dog. We don't know the trivia, but we know the substance. And the substance was this interior paralysis, this interior alienation. And the bigger substance, that's why we look at all of the saints throughout history, and especially the 12 apostles, the bigger substance is God's mercy that loves him so much that he can go out of his weaponized security and enter into a total openness of life with Jesus. He gets up immediately. There's something powerful about God's love when the soul recognizes it, and the rich young man also recognized it, but there was also that human part of response that the rich young man was unable to deliver. He was unable to deliver himself, and Matthew was. Matthew gave himself up to grace. Matthew accepted. He got up immediately and followed Jesus. And this would mean a whole revolution in his life. What an extraordinary development. We know very few personal details about Matthew, but we know the core of his person. We know very little trivia. We know the substance. And the substance is a man who was very broken, paralyzed interiorly, alienated, and God's grace and mercy transformed him completely, and he unconditionally followed Jesus. Let's come back and meet Matthew without his paralysis in his tent